It's time for Alamogordo Town News on Crazy Radio. I'm Anthony Lucero. When it comes to news on 95.1 FM, weather always comes first. The heat wave across the west and southern tier of the U.S. continues, focusing across the desert southwest and Four Corners into Texas and South Florida. You can expect possible record-high temperatures and very dangerous conditions. Canadian wildfire smoke continues to push through parts of the northeast and central U.S. into the east, and widespread air quality alerts are still in effect. Closer to home, very hot with near record-high temps. Some temperatures as high as 110 degrees in the area. That's going to be closer to the Rio Grande Valley. Other lowland locations will see temperatures ranging from 102 to 108 this week. Heat advisories have been extended to Wednesday night at midnight. Scattered thunderstorms are possible, albeit very slight chance for areas west of the Rio Grande, mostly dry conditions to the east. We'll have another look at the weather following this news. Today we're going to hear the tribute given at yesterday's press conference for Officer Anthony Ferguson in its entirety.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Kunihiro. That spelling is Kunihiro. I'm the Chief of Police for the Alamogordo Police Department. Standing behind me, I have a lot of support. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Chris Hughes, Lieutenant Ryan Glidden. We've got Chaplain Torres here, Sabrina Padilla with Acting City Manager Stephanie Hernandez, City Manager Ashley Smith, Lieutenant David McCulley, Susan Mayer Payne, Commissioner Dusty Wright, Sergeant Mark Ascaro, and then several officers to my side to support us, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you. We come before you today with heavy hearts. As a family, a department, and a community grieve the loss of Officer Anthony Ferguson. The unimaginable tragedy, losing one of our own, has happened again. The violence directed at our men and women in uniform all over the country must end. Saturday, July 15th at 02:18 hours, officers attempted to conduct a traffic stop on a vehicle for driving without any headlights or tail lights. The vehicle fled and later crashed into a light pole at 1st Street and Delaware Avenue. The driver exited the vehicle and began to run away. Officer Ferguson and other officers with the department gave chase. Officer Ferguson was critically wounded by the suspect during the chase. Other officers on scene rendered aid to Officer Ferguson and others continued to track the suspect. Officers were eventually able to apprehend the suspect. ABD officers and AMR rendered aid to Officer Ferguson on scene. AMR transported Officer Ferguson to Gerald Champion Regional Medical Center for continuing life-saving measures. The emergency department provided quality care as they prepared Officer Ferguson to be life-flighted to UMC Hospital in El Paso, Texas. Officer Ferguson arrived to UMC with major trauma to his head and face. Medical staff continuously worked on Officer Ferguson. Unfortunately, Officer Ferguson succumbed to his injuries at 10:51 p.m. last night, July 16th, 2023. Officer Ferguson served the Alamogordo community for over 11 years. He was a field training officer, and he was assigned to the patrol division. Officer Ferguson is survived by his mother, his father, 4 brothers, a son, and a daughter. The criminal investigation for this matter is being held by the New Mexico State Police. We will be conducting an internal investigation as to the actions of our officers. At this time, the New Mexico State Police and the Otero County Sheriff's Office will be responding to calls within the city in an effort to allow our officers and staff some time to grieve. We believe Officer Ferguson will be processed home from Albuquerque later this evening. We plan to post the route of the procession and details on our Facebook page later today when we have a more definitive time. We ask for your continued prayers for Officer Ferguson's family and his loved ones. We're also deeply grateful for everyone who has extended support to Officer Ferguson's family and our department during this time. The amount of support has been an overwhelming blessing. At this time, I'd like to turn this over to Mayor Susan Payne.
Good morning. Yesterday, I spent much time sitting with a distraught mother who just a short 41 years ago gave birth to a baby boy. I listened to many stories about when he was little and later as he grew up with his brothers, and the immense pride she had for him and all her children. She told me about when Tony came to her and he said he wanted to be a police officer, and how she was concerned, but she supported him. Officer Ferguson was her baby. We shared stories about the close bond that moms often share with their children. And my heart hurts as I even dare to consider what she must be feeling at that moment. Just a week earlier, she had the ability to pick up a phone and call any one of her children. And this weekend, that ability was taken away from her by the evil that Officer Ferguson encountered on July 15th. And this should never have happened. It is my opinion that this person should have never been released from custody. This entire incident occurred because a dangerous man who we know had been previously accused of breaking the law decided that preserving his freedom was worth more than the life of a person who we tasked with protecting and defending the freedoms of our law-abiding citizens. There's so many emotions that come with a tragedy like this, and we know this. We've been through this before. Sadness and anger and frustration are certainly among the top. And many of us use social media to channel those emotions and express our opinions about how this could have ended differently or why this even happened to begin with. I too am incredibly frustrated about this whole situation. So today I'm calling on our citizens to channel those emotions into something positive that will honor the name of Officer Tony Ferguson. In the time it takes to create a social media post, you can draft an email or make a phone call to all of our legislators and our governor. And you can let them know that you believe that they should revisit the bail reform laws, what we call catch and release, that are devastating our communities. We, as law-abiding citizens, have the right to the same protections as those that are afforded to those who purposely choose to break the law. Together, we have the power to effect real change in our state by taking these simple steps. This is not about politics or which letter is listed on your voter registration card. This is about the ability of all our citizens to feel safe and have confidence knowing that everything is being done to minimize the risk to our community. We need to stop slapping our law enforcement officers in the face by allowing criminals that they risk their lives to apprehend back on the streets due to this completely flawed policy. One person or 7 people alone may not make the same kind of impact as a community of 31,000. We are all in this together, and we will all get through this together. In the meantime, stay safe, stay vigilant, and please continue to pray for Officer Ferguson's family, friends, and all of our law enforcement and first responders that are risking their lives every day to protect us. May we never take that for granted. God bless you all.
Yvette Harrell contacted KALH Radio via text message to share this statement. It reads, "Today we mourn the loss of Alamogordo's Officer Anthony Ferguson, a life tragically cut short by the hands of a dangerous criminal, absolute evil, and someone who should never have been out on the streets. We will never forget his service to our community, and we will honor his memory. Join me in praying for him, his family, and the entire Alamogordo Police Department. News from around the state in just a moment. This is Alamogordo Town News on Crazy Radio. I'm Anthony Lucero.
AlamogordoTownNews.com is a locally owned website featuring local news matters from a local perspective that affects you, and we bring it to you directly. Plus, local sports, cultural arts, and events. Online, AlamogordoTownNews.com. Owned and operated by Second Life Media. We are Otero County.
Directory Plus is the right size book. It's the book if you need a phone book.
That's what just one person has to say about Directory Plus. With its red cover, features, colorful yellow pages, and lots more, it's no wonder people all over use Directory Plus.
It has so much more information. You can cross-check phone numbers or addresses or pretty much anything.
Look on the plus side, Directory Plus.
I'm a big fan of Directory Plus.
First responders found a 6-month-old baby girl dead at a Days Inn hotel in northwest Albuquerque. Her twin sister was taken to the hospital for evaluation. The cause of death is still under investigation at this time, but officers said the hotel room where the baby was found was littered with drugs and drug residue, well within the reach of the baby and her sister. Police have charged the baby's mother, 30-year-old Gloria Tecillo, with child abuse and possession of a controlled substance. Police say she may face additional charges.
The information that I have as of right now is that this child had not entered into the CYFD system. This child was not on our radar.
Teresa Casados, the interim secretary for the New Mexico Children, Youth, and Families Department, speaking before the Courts, Corrections, and Justice Committee. She touched on the loss of the baby, but also on a state program called CARA, aimed at helping newborns and mothers battling substance abuse disorders. CARA stands for the Comprehensive Addiction Recovery Act. Under the act, a plan of care is offered to a family when an infant is born exposed to substances. It's basically a packet of resources, but it's not mandatory, and there's been little to no follow-up with the families that have subscribed. Albuquerque Fire Rescue arrived, took over life-saving measures, but the baby was declared dead. Eric Witt, an aide that worked for New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, has been found dead. Witt was a senior policy advisor and involved with legislative affairs. Witt began working for the governor's office this past January. His cause of death is not yet been released. The trial began on Monday for a former UNM athletics director. Paul Krebs is facing embezzlement charges tied to a 2015 golf trip when he was leading the Lobos. The state says by using university and athletic department funds to pay back the Lobo Club, which initially paid down the payment for a golf trip to Scotland, Krebs intentionally defrauded the university. But his defense argues that Krebs was using university money to pay university partners. They say while that was against UNM policy, it's not against the law. Andrew Coffing with the State Attorney General's office seems to disagree.
By using the university's funds in this way, with the intent to deprive the university of this money, he was not only breaking the rules, but he was breaking the law.
Following opening statements, the state started questioning their first witness, but that was cut short as court adjourned for the day. The trial does continue today.
The Alamogordo Center of Commerce presents the 3rd annual Tularosa Basin Open Golf Tournament, Saturday, August 26th at Desert Lakes Golf Course, featuring celebrity guest John Carlos. Contact the Center of Commerce today to sponsor our guest speaker, breakfast and lunch, golf handbag, and more. Golfers, call Desert Lakes at 575-439-0290 to secure your spot in the 4-man scramble best ball tournament. See you on the green.
The National Weather Service has issued a heat advisory in effect until tomorrow night at midnight. A heat advisory means that excessive heat will significantly increase the potential for heat-related illnesses, particularly for those working or participating in outdoor activities. Drink plenty of fluids, remain in air-conditioned rooms, stay out of the sun, and check up on relatives and neighbors. Young children and pets should never be left unattended in vehicles under any circumstances. Your Crazy Radio spot-on weather forecast for the Tularosa Basin today calls for sunny and hot, mostly clear tonight, sunny and hot tomorrow with a very slight chance for showers. Your high today in the basin, 102, low tonight of 76, high tomorrow, 103. In Cloudcroft, sunny skies with winds gusting as high as 18 miles per hour today, mostly clear tonight, mostly sunny tomorrow with a 20% chance of showers and storms. Your high today in Cloudcroft, 82, low tonight of 59, high tomorrow, 83 degrees. Local breaking news can be found on our website, alamogordotownnews.com, and learn more about Crazy Radio by visiting kalhradio.org. We've also launched the Crazy KALH Radio YouTube channel, which will feature our daily newscasts, complete interviews, and other information which concerns everyone in the Tularosa Basin. That concludes today's edition of Alamogordo Town News on Crazy Radio. I'm Anthony Lucero.